The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Learning exclusive new details this morning about legislation being filed today that could be the first big move to expand medical marijuana in our state. Chris Hopper spoke with the legislator behind the bill. He's live at the Gold Dome this morning. And Chris, so what is his plan as the session begins 1 week from today?
So, Vinny, there are two big takeaways from my conversation with Representative Alan Peake yesterday. He says that just a few people will be able to grow and dispense medical marijuana, but a much larger group of patients would then have access to it. That's the big one here. Now, let's go ahead and break this down. First, the Public Department of Health will pick anywhere from 2 to 6 growers. They will be highly regulated and controlled. They will grow and dispense medical cannabis in the same location. Dosage and administration will be handled by a pharmacist. For the first time, Georgians would be able to purchase medical marijuana in their own state. As for the patients, currently 8 diseases or illnesses qualify you for the Georgia Medical Marijuana Registry. This bill would bump that number up to 14 or 15. Alzheimer's, the incurable skin disease EB, AIDS, Tourette's, and the biggest, intractable pain. That will give a much larger number of patients access to medical cannabis. Peake believes this legislation is convincing enough to change Governor Nathan Deal's mind.
I'm not going to pick a fight with the governor because I'll lose if I do that. But I do believe we can make a compelling argument to him that this is the right, logical next step.
And Peake would also like to strip away the THC limits on cannabis oil. He would like to leave that up to doctors and pharmacists as needed for each patient. Now, we know the hard work begins here. 84% of people in Georgia, according to a recent poll, want in-state cultivation, but we know Governor Nathan Deal and state law enforcement agencies have spoken out against it. Peake will pre-file that legislation later this morning. The session will begin on Monday, Vinny.
All right, Chris, thanks so
Are
much.
you high?
At 11 Live.
The Full Melt.
Give me a break.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Same old stupid microphone. What is wrong with that? Fucking stupid mic, stupid damn thing. Hang on, man. Just a little bit of dirt there. Doesn't take much dirt to make that thing go off, I'll tell you what. Back to the stupid. It's driving me insane. Hang on. Okay, that's a little better. I think am I clean now? Are we Earth to Steve? Steve to meter. I'm just doing that. I'm just doing that myself. Hang on. Stupid thing. All right, is it better? It sounds better now. I'm just going to take the chance that it's going to be better for now. Do I need to get a new soundboard? I might need to do that. I don't know. There's got to be a way to clean that puppy out. Throw some rubbing alcohol or something down in there. Cause a fire. I don't know. Welcome to Wednesday. That is hump day. Check. Hello. Check a hello. I'm having issues with headphones now. Good God. Bubble gum and duct tape. That's what I'm telling you the thing is held together with. Bubble gum and duct tape. There's nothing you can't do with a little of both. Did you see somebody they made an entire, I think they were going to prom, and the guy made his entire tuxedo out of duct tape. The whole thing. And her dress, duct tape. I'm telling you, there's nothing you can't do. They were the silver attractions of the prom. Hey, check out White Trash and his girlfriend duct tape. It had to be in Kentucky or Tennessee. I don't know. Who knows? Who makes a prom dress and a tuxedo out of duct tape? All right, so we're pulling into the 2016 year with all oars in the water. We're firing on all cylinders. And, just for the sake of, I think, I don't know, running down them, I might as well give you the top 10 issues. By the way, that audio, top 10 Google marijuana stories coming up in just a moment. The audio at the front of the show is about Georgia. Pennsylvania has a similar thing going on. We're looking at one of the... Georgia still has dry counties, doesn't it? I think it does. Not all the counties are still on board from prohibition. Alcohol. And here they are moving into the world of cannabis. Maybe it's a good thing. I think definitely it's a good thing. But I'm saying maybe it's a good thing that... Excuse me. Terrible cold. It's just awful. Maybe it's a good thing that that they never moved past alcohol prohibition. Maybe some of those people that still have a dry county, if they get exposed down in Georgia to a little cannabis, maybe their neighbor, cancer patient, or maybe there's somebody with HIV, maybe somebody's got a seizure disorder, and they get some cannabis over there. From their... See, here's the other problem that I have with that. The method by which they're proposing to get cannabis is not a legal one. It is illegal, and state senators and congressmen make this mistake routinely when trying to craft marijuana legislation around in their state. Rick Jones, who is a state senator here in Michigan, former Eaton County sheriff in Michigan. Big lobbyist for, can you be a lobbyist and a senator at the same time? I think Senator Jones has redefined what a senator is, because he not only is a senator, but he lobbies for groups, including the Sheriff's Association, including the Attorney General, including the Prosecutors Association. I don't get it. You've got no business lobbying for those people, sir. You just don't. But Rick Jones is one of these people that made this mistake that I'm talking about. He's like, no, we're gonna change the rules. If there's going to be any medical marijuana that the legislature approves of, it's going to be handled by a pharmacist. Because a pharmacist can't be a felon. Your doctor can't be a felon. I don't know what he's got such a hard on about felonies for. In my opinion, you cannot label somebody after they've done their deed. Once they've paid their debt to society, you can't hold anything against them anymore. That's my opinion. Your debt's been paid. Shut the F up. Look, I don't have any felonies. I've never been charged with a felony. Never been accused of a felony, let alone convicted of a felony. But for those people who have, try and get a job. Really, honestly. Oh, we were going to hire you, but then your report came back, says that you what happened here? Yeah, you wrote a bad check for like $400, and that's a felony. So our policy here is that we can't hire felons. Really? So you're going to say that as an employer, you're going to punish me further than what? And I think this is highly illegal. I just do. Look, if I'm an employer, hiring an employee should be based on merit. It should be based on their experience. It should be based on their ability to perform the job I'm trying to hire them to do. It should not be based or predicated on any prior issue with a crime. You could have a felony that was 5 years old, 10 years old, and people are still going to say, yeah, we can't hire you. So what I'm saying is if you're 18 years old and you do something that they label a felony, and by the way, they redefine misdemeanors into felonies all the time. At least they do in this state. And I think there's a principal reason behind it. It's not public safety. It's about grinding people through the system and making money. Look, if the population goes down and we still have a police force to put up, regardless of the size the population's gone down, we're going to have to extract more money from the existing population to keep the police force up, right? Otherwise, we're going to have to be, labeled as, having laying off police officers. Just lay them off. That doesn't go over well politically. So what they do is they say, well, what we'll do, Mr. and Mrs. Policeman, Mr. and Mrs. Police Union, we're going to go ahead and change some of these formerly misdemeanors into felonies, and we'll sell it as tough on crime. But now you'll have additional opportunity to continue to grind those particular people through the system, and we'll extract the cash from them. The problem that Georgia, Pennsylvania went through the same thing. Michigan also is trying to go through this, even though we're well past this. Senator Jones wanted to say, look, if there's going to be any marijuana, medical marijuana that happens in this state and approved by the legislature that's going to have any backing by the state, by the government, it's going to have to be handled by a pharmacist. That should be handled by a pharmacist, just like all other medication. The problem with that, do you understand the problem with that theory? It's not legal. You'll never, ever find a doctor who will write a prescription for marijuana. And you will never find a pharmacist who will handle marijuana because you said they can. They cannot. If the DEA found out for a minute that a doctor was actually prescribing marijuana, not recommending it. See, there's a difference between a recommendation and a prescription. A prescription is a medical term for a federally approved drug. They cannot prescribe a street drug, what they consider a street drug, because that's what the feds call it. So they would yank the doctor's prescription license, the DEA would, if they found out they were writing prescriptions for marijuana. Nobody in this country is writing prescriptions for marijuana. Not a single state is writing prescriptions for marijuana because they can't do it. No matter how much you'd like them to. Look, I wouldn't mind having the doctor and the pharmacist handle that stuff too. But the federal government prohibits it. And they're licensed, both of these entities, the pharmacist and the doctor, licensed by the federal government. They're getting, don't get me wrong, the doctor's licensed by the state for his doctor's license. But his license to prescribe medication comes from the DEA. The Drug Enforcement Administration handles that licensing. They're the entity you got to go through. And I'm telling you, if you even breathed a half a word of the idea that you were thinking about prescribing marijuana, they would just come in and take your license away. No more writing prescriptions for you, Mr. Doctor. We don't care if you do have a medical degree. We don't care what your state medical cannabis laws say. You cannot write a prescription as a doctor, and a pharmacist cannot handle these materials until federal law changes it from Schedule 1. It's got to go off Schedule 1 first. And then, they're rubbing their hands because now they're in this state, once they got that figured out, and Georgia and Pennsylvania will come along. Once they got that figured out, they started crafting everything, a set of rules, so that in case they do go to Schedule 2, they're ready to proceed with the system. You're getting the full melt. When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law at RudoyLaw.com. RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana and up-to-date news. That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Cannalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Cannalock.com. Visit Cannalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dort Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
All right, all right. All right, all right. All right, all right. It's a hell of a feeling. It's a hell of a feeling. All right, all right. It's a hell of a feeling.
Oh boy, I can't let that music play too long because the YouTube version of our show will just get crapped on. I mean, they'll block the video, they'll publish the video, but the audio will be muted, and they'll make us take the audio out if we're gonna have anybody be able to watch the YouTube video. Look, the program goes to a number of places after we go off the air every day. You're listening to the Full Melt Show. We're here 7 till 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and after the show goes off, the moment we click the off-air button, the show gets published to iTunes, so you can find us on iTunes, G-Potter. There's a bunch of places that we go to live. I don't know if they have access to our taped content. There's a recording of the show that goes up after the show's over with, and that's what goes to iTunes. It's really easy to find us on iTunes, by the way, if you want to get us every day. Just download it right up, automatically. Go to thefullmelt.com, find the iTunes link, click and subscribe. It's just really that easy. I wanted to, and I dropped it over here. I got to go. Hang on, I got to do the big long stretch because the microphone cord's long enough, but I've got this headphone cord that's about 6 inches long. Okay, it's maybe 3 feet. It's barely enough to get from where it's got to plug in to get to my head. So if I got to stretch away from the board at all, which I'm going to have to do to grab the iPhone. Hang on a second. I'm just going to stretch over without it. Hold up. Big stretch. Okay, there we go. I missed the days we were doing video. We were doing video every time we were on the air. I don't know. See, when you're in the studio, it's not that interesting. It's interesting to somebody like me because, I'm a tech guy like that. I want to know what's happening and how it happens. I want to see what's going on. Not everybody's like that. They're like, hey, as long as I'm being entertained, I don't need to know how it happens. I'm a guy that got to know how it happens. And if you want to know how it happens, the iPhone is how I get much of our content. It's done through the iPhone or through the... through a smartphone, let's put it that way, because I've got the Android phone, too. Got the Galaxy S6 and the iPhone 6S Plus. Where was I at here? I lost our Google alert. There we go. So, the top 10 stories, according to Google, about cannabis today. Number 10. Medical marijuana dispensary poised to open in White Plains. That's, of course, New York, isn't it? Merced bans medical marijuana cultivation and sales, at least for now. That's out of California. Oregon begins accepting applications for recreational marijuana licenses. That's according to OregonLive.com, very similar to MLive.com. Kansas attempting to prove Colorado marijuana is wreaking havoc on the state. Oh, we're going to dig into that one. Is it enough in PA? DEA loosens marijuana regulations. We'll dig into that one, too. Judge tosses Denver marijuana credit union's suit for federal approval. The whole story is contained right there in the headline. Nothing more to hear there. Jacksonville mom fighting for medical marijuana legalization. I suppose in states where this has not had any progress, if you're a state that has no medical marijuana, has no retail cannabis, is perhaps trying to vie for a spot to get on that list, this story might interest me. So in the interest of that group of people, I will crack open that story as well. California drug enforcer caught with marijuana in Pennsylvania. I think we talked about this yesterday, but we'll try to go into detail. City's first medical marijuana dispensary to open Thursday in Union Square. We're talking about New York City. Right there near Union Square, the city's going to open its first medical marijuana dispensary. Oh, Rudy Giuliani's rolling in his grave. Is he dead? No. Exclusive details of new medical marijuana bill. See, Rudy Giuliani was the guy. Giuliani's the guy that, I suppose, for lack of better terms, he's the one that got rid of the whole, ugly scene in the late 80s and through the 90s. It took him through the 90s. He started in the late 80s, I think. And I might be wrong. There's people in New York listening going, "No, you idiot!" And they'd probably be right. So, of course, he's not dead. I was just throwing that in there. So January of 94 is his term in office through December 31st. So, he worked in the late 80s through the 80s, and I think he prosecuted people like John Gotti. Remember John Gotti? He's going through there, Teflon Don, they used to call him. They used to call Ronald Reagan. They used to refer to him as the Teflon guy. And then they started using it for the mafia. And so Giuliani's the first guy, I think, that was able to crack open that with RICO laws. So he busted out the mob, and he also went in and cleaned up the whole area that is now where they hold the New Year's Eve celebrations. That whole, was it Union Square, right? Times Square. No, I take that back. There's Union Square and there's Times Square. This is Times Square. And that whole stretch along there used to be nothing but adult theaters and booby bars, and, it's kind of seedy. There's a lot of people hanging out on the streets, just loitering. Some homeless people you got to kick through to get down the sidewalk. It wasn't the most friendly place to attract visitors. Say, for example, I don't know, travelers. Okay, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's going to be tourists. Tourists don't like to come to an area. They don't want to feel like they're in, Tijuana when they're walking through downtown New York. And it would not be unusual. And I've not been to New York. I'm just going by what I know from history. It would not be unusual to be approached by somebody in that area to purchase drugs, especially in the nighttime hours. And people in the daytime would scurry through there. And Giuliani cleaned all that stuff up in the 90s, apparently. And, of course, right after 9/11, at the end of that year, his term ended. And then Michael Bloomberg took over. He took over from David Dinkins. So Dinkins was the Democrat that was in office. It was kind of like, no, you can't. You got to kind of, this area's been grandfathered. See, we can't change the legend. We can't kick these people out. They own that building. Talking about the seedy businesses. They own those buildings, and they've got licenses to be there. They went through and changed all that, all the zoning and the regulations regarding where these kind of businesses could be, and they did close them down. I don't think Giuliani did it right, but he did it. How we get off on Giuliani? I forgot how we got off on Giuliani, or how I got off on Giuliani. Did I just say I got off on Giuliani? I did. Damn it. So, looking at this is where Good Morning America is now. I mean, this is where all those big, the big zipper, those big flowing lights. I mean, it's like Vegas down there. Never used to be like that, except for the adult entertainment and some neon. That was all that was down there. Now they've got these huge, gigantic television screen signs and billboards that light up that entire area. And you're going to see a cannabis shop open, a medical marijuana shop open near Union Square, not Times Square. Union Square is down by Union Station. And, I wonder if at some point they won't let somebody in near down there. I can't see Disney owns all that crap down. Disney, as soon as Giuliani cleaned that crap up, Disney started buying property. And I think that was before Disney No, that was right after Disney bought ABC. Disney bought ABC and decided to move their morning show right downtown, right there in Times Square, where people could see you from the street, and they'd have all the lights and glitz and flash. And plus, they're right there. I mean, people get off from JFK or from the other airport, and they just roll in and get out of the limo and walk into the set of Good Morning America for their gig, for their little piece there. It's perfect. But is it all going to be destroyed by some medical cannabis shop? Could it be? Oh, come on. This is the kind of thinking that's going to be going on. But let me just tell you, if you're one of these people that, I don't know, if you're a medical marijuana patient, you understand, maybe from the angle of people looking down on you, coming in from the downside. It shouldn't be like that. You should be championed for your medical care just like anybody else. But this is the kind of view that this subject brings on. And it's this idea that state legislators repeatedly don't even understand the premise of their own system by insisting that these materials be handled by pharmacists. And you know what? They'll get halfway through that stupid bill there in Georgia. It's because the piece that we played at the front of the show talked about how, it's going to be highly regulated. There's only going to be a few growers, and the people that sell and dispense it are going to be the same people. The people that grow it and dispense it, they're going to do it from the same building. Really, that's a new concept because every place else they want to split that up. Every place else they want to get rid of the appearance of impropriety and monopolization by making sure that the growers aren't the ones that are doing the selling, and the sellers aren't the ones doing the growing. Here they're trying to put it right in the law. The seller and the grower is the same guy in the same location. Da 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 da. They're going to get halfway through this, and some bean counter somewhere, some legislative liaison is going to roll back from some legal committee that says, no, you can't. The pharmacist can't handle the weed. Well, why not? We'll just change the law. You can't change it because it's federal law. Oh, crap. Now what are we going to do? Well, I don't know. If you just looked into this a little bit further than beyond your own doorstep, you'd have figured out that other states figured this out 20 years ago and more. Really, there's an answer to that. So anyway, getting back to where were we at here? I lost my place. Rolling back down. Oh, no, I'd gotten up there. Jacksonville bomb, yeah. California drug enforcer caught, yeah. City's first medical marijuana dispensary, Union Square. Exclusive details of new medical marijuana bill released only on 11 Alive. And that's the Georgia story you heard at the front of the show. The number one Googled story is that Georgia story. And look, it really bothers me when the people who are supposed to be expert at writing laws don't even understand the process by which, they can be made. Don't even understand that what they'd like to do and what they can actually do are two different things. And these are elected representatives. These are career politicians usually. People who are aspiring to actually go to the federal government at some point in time. If they have a political career, look, if you get termed out in your own state legislature, assuming you have term limits, and most places do, what do you do then? Well, you've got to aspire to a higher office, don't you? You're not termed out of being a senator or a congressman at the federal level, so that's where you move to. Some people move to prosecutor, some people move to mayor, even though I think those are positions below legislative levels because they're city positions, not state positions. People have to migrate to somewhere. If you're going to climb up the political ladder, you're going to have to move on to the federal level. And that's where I think people in this state, because Snyder's termed out, I don't think there is a term limit for the attorney general, but, nobody's going to hire that bastard again. And I don't know if he's even going to seek office again. It seems like that he's had his fun in that department. I think it's old hat to him now, and he wants to do something else. He's already been a judge. He's already been an appeals court judge. He's now going on to be the attorney general of the state. It's the highest position for law enforcement outside of perhaps the governor. Supposed to answer to the governor. Supposed to actually answer to the people. Supposed to be the governor's lawyer. I don't think he's doing any of those things. I think he's doing what he wants to do. When you get people like this in office, that's where they're going to try and go to. And you know, maybe some of these crackpots here in Michigan will fit right in with the Donald Trumps of the world because it seems like they all have that aspiration. I think the aspiration of the Attorney General is to be the new governor of the state of Michigan. And I'll be damned, I will leave this state if this state pulls some shenanigans at the polls and manages to get him hired as the governor. I will move out of the state of Michigan. I will no longer be here. I will find some place to move to if the Attorney General becomes the governor. Won't have it. That guy deserves to be summarily tarred, feathered, and sent to Siberia because he's that corrupt. I loathe the man. Bouchard, same way. That guy's even a bigger jack. Well, he's an equally, he's the other cheek to the butt is what he is. Mike Bouchard, he's the Oakland County Sheriff. I say that from the seat of Oakland County. So, you got nothing on me, and you won't have anything on me. There you go. That's what I think about you, Mr. Mike Bouchard. And Mr. Bill Schuette. What else have we got going on here? I'm a little remiss. I'll bet you. Yeah, we're coming up on the break. We got nothing going on because the break's coming up. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. What's the timeline say? Timeline says, yeah, break's coming up. So what else is going on? Oh, we're going to crack into these stories. So let's crack into that first story, I think. I told you I would. And then we'll come back. I'm just going to break it open, introduce it, and then we'll come back and mill it about after the break. So the one that I really wanted to talk about was this Kansas. See, I don't like whiny states. Kansas is a whiny state. Screw you, Kansas. Last month, the federal government, this according to westward.com, the federal government sided with Colorado in a lawsuit filed with the U.S. Supreme Court by Oklahoma and Nebraska. Really? That's amazing. Which claim that our marijuana laws should be dismantled in Colorado due to residual harm being caused across state lines. Kansas hasn't joined the suit, but its attorney general appears to be gathering evidence that would bolster the case being made by these states. We'll come back and talk about this story and more as we progress on with the Full Melt Show. Don't you go away. You're getting the Full Melt.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
At book club, they were asking me what you're doing now, Janice.
Blogging. Your blog is just pictures of you in a mirror.
It's called a fashion blog, Todd. Well, I've been helping people save money with Progressive's discounts. Flo, can you get Janice a job?
You should have stuck to softball. I was so much better at softball than Janice dead.
Where's your wife, Todd?
Vacation.
Discounts like homeowners, multi-policy. I got a discount on this ham.
I've got the meat sweats. It's good ham, Diane.
Paperless discounts. Give it a rest, Flo.
Yeah, Flo, give it a rest.
We asked people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. PetPain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. So that's Al King, right? X's and O's. I saw her on Good Morning America this morning and learned something brand new. I had no idea. Remember who Rob Schneider is? From Saturday Night Live and the Hot Chick movies and some other movies. Mostly B parts in other movies. Never a leading role. The only leading role he had in a film, I think, was the Hot Chick movies. The ones that he wrote and starred in, and I think were done by Lorne Michaels as executive producer. Rob Schneider is Elle King's dad. She's got a stepdad now, and she's 26. But she was just a little kid when she was when Rob was doing the show on Saturday Night Live. And I can tell you that Rob Schneider is the largest dick I've ever interviewed over a movie, and it was over the Hot Chick 2. Conducted a movie interview. I'll never forget that interview because he was such a damn prick. Seriously. Normally, if there's a star, he's had a bad day or something, and it's, you could kind of tell and you can work around them. Got the guy on the phone talking about promoting his movie on our radio station in Detroit, and I couldn't get the guy to answer stupid questions, and he ended up getting pissed off and hanging up. He's just the largest prick ever to be interviewed on his own movie. The hell's wrong with you, Rob Schneider? I can see why. Elle King's mother sought out a new daddy. Because you're a jerk. Sorry. I had to get that off my chest. Just was weird. I thought, who was it? It was one of the hosts on Good Morning America was introducing Elle. Robin Roberts was doing it. And she's like, oh, da-da-da-da-da. And she's kind of going through some stuff. And she's like, oh, the song's about, ex-lovers and I don't know. This is one of those songs where you can't barely understand the lyrics. Just because of the style and the way she sings that song, it's really hard. There's more style in the song than there's actual lyric. So I get into the style and I don't listen to the lyric, and I figure out, it's about old exes of hers. So she was telling about, hey, did any of those people, contact you back after you wrote the song? And she's like, no, I think there's only one guy that got pissed and moved out of the country. Everybody else is okay. And I think she was joking. But then she happened to mention that Rob Schneider was her dad. So I looked up some history on it, and sure enough, really, you learn something new every day. It's a small world, as they say. We were talking before we went to break about this story came out of, hang on a second, did I lose it? Yeah, it's out of Westward. This is about the Supreme Court siding with Oklahoma and Nebraska, which were making claims about marijuana laws causing problems in their non-marijuana states. And so they took the case to court saying that Colorado should stop their marijuana ways. They were essentially seeking a way in another state to control another state's laws and asking the federal government to back them up on that. And the federal judge said no. Now, we're talking about Kansas now. They haven't joined the suit, but its attorney general is trying to gather evidence to bolster that position in an effort to determine how much Colorado cannabis is negatively impacting the good people of Kansas. Ever since the 2012 passage of Amendment 64, which legalized limited recreational marijuana sales in Colorado, we've been sharing reports about the reaction in Kansas to this development. In March of 2013, for example, we spoke to an attorney who advised folks to ditch their weed before crossing into Kansas because of the state's draconian cannabis laws. A few months later, in a July 2013 post, we noted that more than half of felony pot trafficking cases in Kansas could be traced to Colorado. And the following year, we posted about assertions that Kansas authorities were profiling rental cars with Colorado license plates. You see, if they want to label all the weed from Colorado, it's easy to do, because how are you going to tell where that weed came from? Oh, it looks like you used to live in Colorado. This must have come from Colorado, didn't it? No, I live in Kansas now. I've lived in Kansas for like 20 years. Yeah, but some people in Colorado, this is Colorado weed. I mean, that's what they've been essentially doing. Finding a reason to point to Colorado. It must be coming from Colorado then. Even if it was Mexican weed and it wasn't anything about Colorado's, industry. What about California? Why isn't it coming from California or Seattle or Oregon? Why isn't it coming from D.C.? Why you got to point to Colorado? And again, if you're in Kansas, any illegal weed that came across the Mexican border that had nothing to do with Colorado probably came through Colorado. What's wrong with you people? It's all statistical twisting for your own damn benefit. The judges, so far, aren't agreeing. I don't think they're going to. How are you going to say as one state that we got to make another state change their state laws? It's just never going to happen. The people of Colorado would revolt if they had to give way to the likes of the idiots remaining behind in Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Kansas. Nonetheless, hard data about Colorado marijuana remains elusive. Of course, it's going to remain elusive. And Schmidt, the AG there in Kansas, would like to change that. In a January 4th release that consistently puts the word legalize in quotes when referring to Colorado's marijuana laws, Schmidt's office notes that he has launched a statewide project, quote unquote, to, quote, collect information about how marijuana acquired in Colorado is entering and affecting Kansas, end quote. Oh, look at the smarmy smirk on that guy's face. Oh, if I saw him in person, I'd want to slap it right off. I want to slap it off from here. You can tell, you can see the gears turning behind this guy's eyes. I don't know if you can do that or not, but I can. Why? Existing criminal justice information systems are inadequate to track the phenomena because they do not collect information about the origin of marijuana encountered by Kansas law enforcement, and they cannot readily be modified to do so, the release maintains. Where in the world, look, if you go and you buy a bag of weed from the neighbor, whoever the neighbor is, or somebody that lives near you, or somebody that you know, and they hand you a bag of marijuana in whatever container it comes in, I'll bet you the container doesn't point to its origin. And I'll bet you, even if you asked the guy where it came from, he wouldn't know. And if he did know, he wouldn't tell you. I could probably, with some degree of certainty, tell you by looking at the cannabis whether or not it's likely to have come from Colorado, or at least domestically. Because you don't find the kind of cannabis that's coming out of Colorado coming across the Mexican border. There are two different kinds of weed. The one coming across the border is grown out of doors and without any procuring. It's done without any manicuring. It's done without any... It's just seed thrown in a field and hidden from view. And they don't take any male plants out. If stuff gets sick and diseased or they have to spray it down with some stuff, they just do it. And then they pick it with a hay baler. And they bale that stuff up into bundles and usually put it off in a place where they can, they let it dry right on the vine, so to speak. Let it dry naturally in the field. They pick it with a hay baler. It gets all bundled up in the same spot. Kicks out hay bales, but these are weed bales. And that's usually stored for a while. This weed will look and it'll be full of seeds. And it won't be, it hasn't been looked after, but grown in a field. So imagine your tomato garden, or your regular vegetable garden. It's weeded, it's watered, it's maintained, it's managed for maximum yield and for appearance, right? This doesn't happen. I mean, if you're going to pick a pepper out of the garden and you're growing some nice, delicious yellow peppers, you want it to be yellow and shiny and uniform in color. You want it to look good as well as taste good. The stuff growing, if you took that same seed and just threw it out in a field and hoped that you got some equally prepared vegetables out of the field, you're sorely mistaken. You're going to come back and find that maybe some of those plants didn't grow at all, and the ones that didn't grow certainly didn't do it optimally. So it's easy to look at this cannabis and tell whether it came from a foreign location or from a domestic one, for the most part. There are numerous and persistent anecdotal accounts of marijuana acquired in Colorado and illegally transported into Kansas causing harm here, Schmidt is quoted as saying. See, that's the problem. Numerous and persistent anecdotal accounts. It means they have no value. There's no merit behind the accounting because it's anecdotal. Because of the technology limits, the confirming data is elusive. We need to know more about what is actually happening here so policymakers can make informed decisions. You're not going to pick the genie out of that bottle. I'll bet you can't even find the bottle or the lock to pick. As such, Smith's staffers have distributed more than 500 surveys. Oh, there's some more anecdotal information. With one version tailored to sheriffs and police chiefs and the other created with county and district attorneys in mind. So they're actually polling the prohibitionists to ask them where the weed's coming from, as if they knew. That's not going to answer the question. What a moron. Schmidt, you're a moron. The former features following 8 questions. Here we go. How many seizures of Colorado marijuana have occurred in your jurisdiction since January 1st of 2014? If you're unable to determine an exact number of seizures, please provide your best estimate. Anecdotal, where are you? Number 2, how many arrests have been made in your jurisdiction since January 1st of 2014 involving a person suspected of being impaired as the result of using Colorado marijuana? I mean, the guy's impaired on marijuana. You don't even find the marijuana. He smoked it at a party somewhere. How do you know that it came from Colorado, you moron? How are they supposed to know it came from Colorado, you big, decent piece of crap? Seriously. You're wasting taxpayers' money with this crazy poll. I got your crazy poll. Again, please provide a best estimate if you're unable to provide an exact number of arrests. Number 3, has Colorado marijuana been found in the possession of juveniles in your jurisdiction? Again, Colorado marijuana. Why don't you ask them, has any Washington or Oregon marijuana been found in the possession of youths? Because they wouldn't have a way to answer that any more than they would from Colorado, you moron. Number 4, are you aware of any Colorado marijuana found in your jurisdiction since January 1st of 2014 in the form of edibles? It gets worse. Are you aware of any other Colorado marijuana byproducts like waxes or oils found in your jurisdiction since January 14th? If yes, please elaborate and provide as much information as possible to assist in understanding the nature and scope of this problem. You're never going to find the nature and scope of any problem with anecdotal bullshit, Mr. Schmidt. Mr. Taxpayer wasting money Schmidt. Overall, number 7, have you characterized the effect of Colorado marijuana legalization in your jurisdiction since January 1st of 2014? Oh, it's a facepalm moment, isn't it? Number 8, please provide any other information that you believe would assist the Office of the Attorney General in ascertaining the true condition of the Colorado marijuana situation in your jurisdiction and in Kansas as a whole. That's the trick. Kansas is a whole. There's more cows and livestock in Kansas than there are people, for crying out loud. Going off to Kansas City to fight back the marijuana coming from Colorado. No, you can't have it here.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The No-Smell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a No-Smell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about No-Smell technology at NoSmell.com.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
I can tell you that there was a terrible tragedy that happened during the break.
Something great. My lungs will fill and then
The tragedy was there's no room in the studio here. There is a rolling tray. The rolling tray is the actual. You ever been to a restaurant and you get the little tray, like a fast food restaurant, like a McDonald's or an Arby's or a Hardee's or a place like that, and you get the little fast food tray that's got your burgers and stuff on it. You can go back and sit down and eat with them. Yeah, got one of those as a rolling tray. I don't know where I inherited it from. I did not steal said tray. Somehow it ended up in my possession, and so it's used frequently as a rolling tray. But sometimes it is placed in or near the studio area to make room for other stuff that's going on. And when I went to go to the studio area to start today's show, had to move it out of the way, and it got placed to another area. And then there was an incident with a dog in a previous break where he was getting into food he was not allowed to have. And this happened to contain chicken bones, so that concerned me a lot. He devoured a pile of chicken bones. Luckily, he didn't choke on any of that stuff, and hopefully he chewed it up good. Anyway, so that tray got moved to the floor. And then during the last break, I happened to step on the edge of that tray, and guess what went flying off of it? Everything that was on it. So my feet are now covered in would-be smokable cannabis. Don't do that at home, folks. Please don't try this at home. In a last effort to cover material in the news today, this is out of the York Dispatch. The story's headline is, oh, dang it. Is it enough in PA, Pennsylvania? DEA loosens marijuana regulations. Medical professionals are lauding federal agencies for loosening medical marijuana research regulations. They have done that. But those fighting to legalize its use in Pennsylvania worry it may further delay the process. Okay, wait a minute. So before you were saying, look, we could get you some medical cannabis a lot quicker if the federal government let us do studies on it. And now they're saying exactly the opposite. Now that the federal government's letting us do studies on it, we may not be able to get you your medical cannabis. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, announced in late December that it would be relaxing requirements on cannabis-derived research, according to a Pennsylvania Medical Society press release. The North Coteras Township mother named Karis Salame, whose 9-year-old son Jackson could be treated with medical cannabis for the severe seizures he suffers, said the DEA's announcement was, quote, a tiny step forward, end quote, but not nearly enough. Salame, who works with a group called Campaign for Compassion to support medical marijuana legalization, said the current system research being conducted wouldn't help her son, even though he's suffering just as much as those with conditions for which cannabis is being explored as an option. Why is one group's pain more important than another, she asked. Dr. Scott Shapiro, president of the State Medical Society, said more research needs to be conducted on cannabis before doctors can accurately know what they'd be prescribing. So, understand that. We were just talking about Georgia, where they're insisting that doctors and pharmacists handle the cannabis. And so in a traditional prescription, not only do you identify the medication, but you give a prescription for how it's supposed to be used. So, if it's a pill or a tablet, once daily with food, or twice a day with food, or 3 times a day, don't exceed 3 times a day. Stuff like that. But here you've got the state medical practitioner, the state medical society director, the president in Pennsylvania, only a couple short states away, said more research has to be conducted on cannabis before doctors can even accurately know what they'd be prescribing. You see the problem here? And it wasn't far before this in the legislature when Pennsylvania was, trying to do the same thing. Oh, well, pharmacies have to do the dispensing. Oh, well, doctors have to do the prescribing. They don't even know the terms and regulations of their own government. We need better data, is what Shapiro said. Problem is there's so many types of chemicals and types of marijuana involved. We got to do more studying. Shapiro says the semantics of the DEA's new regulations weren't completely clear, but the move to allow researchers to access more cannabis for research was definitely a step in the right direction. We as physicians are not against anything that can help patients, he says, but don't want to have patients asking us to recommend drugs for which we don't have enough knowledge or data available, he said. Now, wait a second. The entire idea that a patient should be recommending a drug to you as a doctor is ridiculous. It's antithetical to your profession and practice. The only person who's got enough knowledge and information to prescribe any, approved drug on a prescription pad is the doctor. This idea, look, when I was a kid, in my day, we didn't have medication. We ate some bark with some tonic. We swallowed it down with some liquor, and we liked it. See, I'm turning into an old man. What I'm saying is that, you can't go into a doctor or recommend a drug. We didn't have ads on television telling you to buy, Varziga or whatever the hell the drug is. If you tune into any major news outlet, any one of them, you'll find that they're loaded down with about 80% advertising for drug companies. Because they want you to go in and recommend to your doctor, hey, doc, you know what? This part of me hurts, and this drug on TV says that, hey, this might be good for me. Can you write me this prescription? That's what the drug companies want you to do. That's why they're putting the ads on TV. They're not trying to reach the doctors that way. You got no business going into your doctor asking for a particular medication. I don't care what it is. If it's Vicodin, I don't care if it's Percocet. I don't care if it's. It doesn't matter the medication. You don't go into the doctor and say, you know what? I've got some kidney stones. I'm going to need X, Y, and Z to get rid of them. You go in complaining of the kidney stones or the pain associated. You go in with a symptom. The doctor diagnoses your condition, and if a medicine is available and likely to help the situation, he's the only one with the knowledge and information to determine whether or not it's likely, practical, or is a danger to you from some other situation. You shouldn't be going in and asking your doctor for drugs. This is why doctors aren't allowed to prescribe drugs, aren't allowed to hand you drugs. Why don't you just go to the doctor and the doctor doesn't just give you the drugs? Well, because, see, there's the appearance of impropriety. He's prescribing them to you, and then he's also selling them to you. So it would seem that maybe he's got some profit motive in place to make the prescription and then sell you the prescription. So they separate it out. So the doctor does the prescribing, and it's cut free from any ties of profit from the actual medication itself. The pharmacist gets that money. That's how it works. So the idea that these people say, I'll just say the quote again. We as physicians are not against anything that can help patients. So he's saying, I'm not biased against pot. But we don't want to have patients asking us to recommend drugs for which we don't have enough knowledge or data available. Look, you should have the knowledge in the first place. I don't care if it was a non-approved it's no legitimate medical use. You should know enough as a doctor about the side effects and the effects of cannabis as a whole and how it may interplay on other drugs to answer this question for yourself. And to say that we don't want to have patients asking us to recommend us drugs which we don't have enough knowledge or information about. They shouldn't be asking you about any drugs. They should be coming in complaining of a symptom, complaining of what they think is an illness, some anomaly that you're then determined and tasked and equipped to fix, to diagnose, and to treat. Bugs the hell out of me. Senate Bill 3, sponsored by Republican Senator Mike Fulmer, and we've had Mike Fulmer on the show before, would give Pennsylvanians suffering from some illnesses access to a medical form of cannabis. The bill was passed in the Senate in May and has since been stalled in the House after undergoing nearly 200 amendments. Fulmer said he's not giving up on this. legislation passed. We need to step up the rhetoric and continue to educate, he said. That's all this is, isn't it? Education. That's how I got in favor of legalizing marijuana to begin with. I wasn't totally in favor of it at first, but I spent the time doing the research. This is not political. It's just about the people, Fulmer added. And that's how it should be. Thank you, State Senator Mike Fulmer.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.